My name is Bianca Stubler. My professor was Professor Porter, and this is my ARC 502 studio project, the Olympic Training Center located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is just the table of contents of what you'll see throughout the project. And then just to give a brief background of my design proposal, the Olympics is the most prestigious athletic event that every athlete dreams of competing in. Every 4 years, each nation's top athletes are selected to represent their country. And these well-known Olympic rings are the visual ambassador for the Olympics and have been since 1913, when they were first presented. This symbol just truly expresses the union of the five continents and the athletes that come together from around the world for the Olympic Games, despite any other differences. The proposed Olympic Training Center is a 5-story building located in Fort Lauderdale. It contains world-class facilities, housing units, learning programs designed for these top athletes to train. The location was specifically selected because of the tropical climate and ability to train year-round, as well as the young and upcoming neighborhood that it is located in. And this site will offer expertise in coaching, teaching, and developing these selected individuals. The main design goal was to create a safe environment for the athletes to feel at home, achieve privacy and comfortability, visibility and breathability throughout all the spaces, and sustainability was also a main driving factor of the design. The training center places a large emphasis on drawing the public attention through this main focal point, but also having the privacy of the athletes. The iconic rings are placed to be able to be noticed and seen from miles away, understanding exactly who's training in this building, exactly what it represents, and what the goals are. Viewing it from the sky, the ground, from within, this all kind of comes together and stays true throughout the design. Just a quick background on the rings. So these rings are the main design driver of my project concept. Alone, these rings represent the 5 unique continents throughout the world, but together they display the union of different athletes and cultures that come together for this one occasion, again, despite any other differences. So similarly, in my specific project, each ring represents a different program of the design and how they overlap to create the best experience for the users. So from left to right, these different spaces provide the opportunities for the athletes and users to learn, to reflect, to support, and be supported, to move, and to collaborate. So just a brief background on my precedent study. This is just kind of a look at a rainwater collection reuse site where the city used this site to filter water and redistribute it throughout the site and the community. Similar to my project, I have a main green roof that's kind of doing the same thing. These can have really big impacts on the design and factors of new sites and within the city. This is a very big driving factor to be able to reuse water, remove excess heat from the area, and kind of redistribute it as a big sustainability factor. So just looking at my property perspective very quickly, just kind of showing the height restriction, Flagler Village, which is within Fort Lauderdale, and just kind of where my site is located throughout the city. It's obviously surrounded by a lot of different residential, commercial buildings, and kind of sits perfectly on this large empty site. A few key factors of the area is just that it's a pretty flat area within Florida because of its proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. Obviously, flood risk and hydrology are big main factors, so that was considered throughout the design and made in design decisions. And then this is also just kind of showing the traffic throughout the site, the pedestrian walkways. It is a pretty walkable community and pretty small rise, so I wanted to stay true to that as well. Just showing the original concept development. So obviously the rings are a big driving factor of the design. I wanted to maintain the integrity of the shape and not change it too much just because of what it means. So I wanted to kind of be creative and step outside of maybe the ring comfort zone, but just still wanted to make sure that these iconic rings were seen and heard and understood and not compromised too much. So in terms of how how it's broken up. The main level, floor 1, is the most private or the most public space, and then it works up to more private. So giving that community opportunity to be within the site, but also giving athletes that privacy that they deserve. And then just kind of broken up into 5 different levels. Level 1, obviously most public, being the main entry with a lounge, cafeteria, conference room. Level 2 being the main training area for the athletes. Level 3 being more of a classroom study area. Level 4, providing housing for athletes if needed or desired. And then level 5, having that main practice field that is open to the exterior. So just to hop into process strategies, highlight those a little bit more. This whole right side is pretty open. I have a ramp that leads from level 1 to level 5, and just kind of different program spaces that are within the center of it. But for the most part, this right side, this right wing of the building is the most different part of the structure, being that kind of open space. And then on the top, it does have that rainwater and collection site that we'll get into a little bit more. Having this green roof, those are the big sustainability factors. And then incorporating this solar shading system just to make sure that, hot Florida climate, we want to be able to shade the building, but also because of the fact that it's mostly curtain wall system, providing that privacy to the athletes inside was also really important. And then also having it on top just to make sure that you're also shading, the green roof and athletes that are using that to the best of our ability. And then also having, natural ventilation as much as we can, trying to control glare in daylight. So working from floor 1, the sidewalks and iconic rings kind of serve as a main entry into the building, where users are kind of directed straight into the main entrance into this public area, and then will be directed based off of, are they a community member? Are they part of the team? So just kind of getting a closer look. What are we seeing? What's the entry sequence? So from a distance, it's highly visible. The colors, the design, it's very obvious. What's going on here leaves the community wanting more, wanting to kind of step inside it and see what it is truly about. From the sky, obviously, front and center, very clear. These rings are bold. They stand out from miles away. Traveling overhead, you know exactly what's going on, and it's just a bright, intense image of the building itself. And then from the ground, the pathways kind of lead up to these main entrances, inviting the community to step in. Sitting purposely at only 5 stories tall, it does match the heights of the surrounding community, not being too overpowering and still maintaining that, comfort and well-being for the athletes to feel like they can call this their home. Level 2, the main training space, we have the gyms, the coaches' offices, the training rooms. The area I wanted to highlight is the gymnastics area. This is our collaboration part of the rings. This is that far right ring that we're talking about, with the ramp that wraps around the entire most exterior part of the building. This sits between multiple levels because of the amount of hours that gymnasts spend in the space per day, just making sure that, there's big visibility factor, ventilation, airflow, and views, letting all that natural light in from those curtain walls, but also just providing a really safe place for these athletes to practice. Level 3, the main classroom areas, study areas. I'm going to highlight this classroom in the left corner here. Again, just putting it up along the edge just to let in natural light, giving the opportunity for these students to learn. This is the learning part of the rings, and just having that, ability for these athletes to get everything that they need through this program in the same space. Quickly just highlighting the ceiling plan. Again, because of the Florida climate, it was really important to be able to capture, use airflow and ventilation as much as possible, but also needed that, ventilation system. It is a hot and humid climate, so you need to have some type of, HVAC system. So it's an active system. It's kind of just showing how it's distributed throughout the space. using a VAV system, ducts going into each unit. We want to make sure that it is a comfortable space for all users. And level 4, just brief, this is the housing area of the design. Circulation was a main factor, as you can see throughout the floors. There's so much circulation just because we still need to provide, places for the athletes and users to stretch and move and use these different areas. So it's not just about maximizing how much we can fit in here, but just how movement is throughout the space. And then level 5, that main practice area, as I said, there's a big ramp that leads to the top floor, and then as you can see here, just a big space for multiple different purposes, an outdoor lounge, practice area, rainwater retention, and then just seeing how those Olympic rings hovering above serve as like an iconic feature, but also as that shading device. And this, again, is the main movement part of the ring, as we discussed earlier. It's just showing that rainwater collection area on the top floor. And then just looking a little bit more into that. So obviously, as stated earlier, it is a big open structure. This rightmost wing is, not as much about the floors and the different spaces or rooms, but we are maximizing the space with the ramp wrapping all the way around, and then having, conference room, the gymnastics area, and still a stretching area to make sure that the space is fully used within. So just getting a little bit more into that. It's just kind of showing that, rainwater collection system, which sits in the top here, showing how ventilation plays a big aspect into the design. But also we still have those air supply systems. The floors are being fully used, and again, that rainwater collection system, which sits right on top. Getting a little bit more into that because of the fully glass feature on this side of the building. Using a diagrid framing system to fully support it was really important, making sure that everything, was supported and sound. And then having this top rainwater collection site, I just wanted to make sure that it was obvious of what it was being used for and how that is kind of distributed back onto the field. Just brief elevations showing the lengths and widths of the building, as well as the circles, the rings that hover above. And then again, just getting into the structure, using a mainly steel structure to be able to create these rings. Obviously, nothing is easy about circles, so making sure it was structurally sound, using many different columns to support the building, that diagrid framing system, and then supporting the rings above with, steel framing system, just making sure that all the walls are supported with the steel and concrete integration. And then the facade, again, just all the components coming together, the curtain wall system, the concrete walls, the windows, operable windows and shading system, these all kind of just came together to make sure that the building was really working together with all these different systems to come out with the best result. In conclusion, my project serves as a place for users to learn, to reflect, to support, to move, and collaborate. Olympic rings were the main design driver of the project and serve as that iconic image that no matter where you're from, no matter what culture you are a part of, you know what they mean. It is very obvious what they represent and what they stand for, and everyone comes together for that same purpose. It was very challenging to get this to all come together, rings and circles being very hard to work with, but at the end of the day, this site, this project, and this design is a great place for the next generation of Olympians to call home. Thank you.